I was in a room. So this experience, I just got off work. I laid down and I went into the real side, one of the multi levels of creation. I think it was the astral realm. Doesn't really matter, but it was somewhere. And it took place in this room where there was this basketball court. Um, there was this court, and you know how on any kind of sporting event, there's always like that kind of hallway that leads out to the stadium that all the players come out of. There was three of those. There was like a hallway like that on my. I guess that was more like a corridor. There was like a corridor on my left. There was a corridor in front of me, and there was a corridor on the right. And I was looking at each corridor, and I was standing there on the basketball court, and all of a sudden it was military soldiers, or like the armies of every different nation, of almost every nation in the world, filling these corridors. Um, there was Germany, there was the United States' army, there was the Chinese army, the Taiwanese army. On my left, there was like the Scandinavian armies, like armies from the Ukraine and Sweden, and all these people, all these militaries of the world came, gathered around the basketball court, and were watching me. And they had their guns raised. They were kind of, I remember I had this impression that they were ready to take me out, and we were sort of having like a standoff, but they wanted to see what I was going to do first. They didn't have like a justification yet to sort of do that. And I recall that I was with somebody as well on the basketball court. I don't remember exactly who, but I was with another new friend. And essentially, again, we were having this standoff with the military. And the order of event, I'm putting together the order of events. Well, anyways, I'm with this other individual, and essentially, I asked them, I request from the militaries, or this governments of the world who are watching me, to give me a ball, so I can play ball. And they give me a basketball, but it's very like run down. It's very smooth. It doesn't have the grips, So I remember I was on the court and I was trying to shoot with it, and it was a challenge, but I was still, getting it and shooting. And then like a little game had transpired. I did not see the outcome of the game, but all of a sudden I was back on the court, after like the game, and I was standing there, and I knew that they had wanted to, sort of move in. They kind of had enough, whatever. And it was me and this other individual again, and I knew that we had filled the room with some sort of like either like a hydrogen gas or some other kind of explosive gas, and we needed to set it off in order to set the roof on fire, so that way it could cause a diversion and we could like escape. And so we were kind of just waiting, and then all of a sudden, I grabbed this green extension cord, this really thick green extension cord. And on my left-hand side of the left corridor, where there was the sort of like Scandinavian armies, like the Ukraine and the Sweden and that kind of areas, their military, there was this boy sitting there in front of them, sort of off to the right-hand side, which was my left and their right. And I looked at him, and he was sitting with his legs out. He was sitting on his, on his butt on the floor, and his legs were out, and he was slouched over. He was really slumped over, and he was just staring, down at the ground. And I knew that he was something like either a political prisoner, just a regular prisoner, or even under the kind of influence of the rulership, of the military. But he was somebody that was in a perceivably less than position, according, to them. And again, he had this kind of look, and he was wearing a black shirt, gray pants, and even like these black shoes. And he was super hunched over, And anyways, I knew that all I needed to do was take the extension cord and plug it into the wall, and it would set the roof on fire. It would ignite this gas, and it would kind of get that going. But I grabbed the extension cord and I threw it to him. I threw it to this young boy who I did not recognize, and to sort of give him the opportunity to see if he was going to do it or not. And it landed near him, and the outlet was just behind him. And so I remember I threw it to him, and I sort of looked away from him. And I really didn't have this expectation. I really did not expect him to do it. I didn't expect him not to do it. I just wanted to see what he would do. I was giving him the opportunity to help us and to assist us, and kind of freak himself in a way. And so Anyways, a few moments passed, and I thought, okay, well, he's not going to do it. I'll just do it myself. And as I was turning back, I saw him going and plugging it into the socket. And as soon as he plugged it into the socket, all of a sudden, all the gas in the room, which was more on the ceiling now, it had ignited. And when it ignited, it burst into these flames and it set the roof on fire. And I remember I was looking up at it, and it was sort of like kind of spectacular, kind of like amazing. It was really cinematic. It was like I was in a movie, and all the militaries, they kind of started like scrambling. They really didn't know what to do, and they were, not focusing on us anymore. But that was my experience. It's related to what we're doing, and I'm wondering who this individual is who can make this connection, for us. Of course, we can do it ourselves, but extending the opportunity to others, and it seems that he's right there or has some affiliations. So, yeah, that was the experience. If Duane, you have any views?
Oh yeah, it's very good. So it's showing the whole idea of what we're doing. So in other words, the players who are on the field, just like you're saying, where yeah, the football, especially football, you see them running out there onto the field because the masses are watching. Again, it's the Colosseum type thing, and you look back to the Colosseum, the days of the Colosseum, and the Romans, etc. And the warriors would come out, the lions, whatever they bring them out, the crowd would cheer, etc. That's the masses in the Colosseum, and it's the players on the field. And so in Eckankar, it was like baseball, okay? And baseball's fun, but it's more of a passive sport. But now it's football, and on the playing field. Who will get down there and face the defenses? And so you got the military here. You've got all this action here. You see this. They are the players in the world. They're out there. They're in the public eye, etc. And they like their position because they got their uniforms, their peacocks, etc. So you see the playing that's taking place, and at the same time, the idea of the gas. There's an old saying again. Let's blow the roof off. You see, let's go out there and let's blow the roof off. And so that's the idea. And this individual there, yeah. Uh, let's see who it is that shows up. It will show up, but they did agree. You see, even though it may not be that they're a prisoner, but they see the sad position they're in, and it's kind of like they can do nothing like a little kid. You can be the president of a company, you can be the president of the United States, or whatever, but really, you really can't do anything because it's really the military. It's really the political, religious military that rules everything. They've created it, just like Frankenstein created the monster, and the monster threw him out the window. They've created a monster and they know it. And so all of a sudden, what can they do with it? And so you're seeing that. What you're seeing is the willingness. Okay. Yeah, we can do it ourselves. But again, this helps. This individual has connections. Now, it can be Putin. It can be the guy the little fat guy in North Korea. It can be anybody. It could be the Pope, whatever. It really doesn't matter. But all of a sudden, yeah, we can do it. But at the same time, if we get that individual to be willing, look at all the connections they have, and also by the very fact that he's doing it, because again, everything is fear-based. Everything we do here is fear-based, and they really want to see who's brave. Adolf Hitler, he went through a lot, and he was part of the elites. He was part of the monarchy, but still, he had to prove himself, and he even went to prison. But he kept going, and then they funded him. His own buddies, family, and whatever, he was part of them. They just didn't give him the money. They wanted to see if he's going to kick ass and do it. And so he had to prove himself. And so very few will step up and face the world and do it, but do something real. Again, another example is Bill Gates. They were going to take everything away from him. That's all the stuff he went through many years ago on the lawsuits and whatever. They threatened him, and he thought that, he could deal with it, but finally he realized they'll just take it all away. So he gave in. So again, but he's a risk taker, but he needs to do it to where it's a benefit, not detrimental. So what you're seeing here is because he made the choice, you saw the military scatter. What does that tell you? Okay, all of a sudden, my gosh, let's just say it's Putin. My gosh, our leader is agreeing with them. The real guys, whatever. What do we do? What do we do? Who's going to give us orders? See, they're prone for orders. That's their routine. You know, they like to go and march and look good, but they need someone to tell them what to do, don't they? They really do. And so, who's ever the leader or whoever, it's like they feel like a little kid and they really can't do anything, but they can. And they proved it by the fact of what they did because you helped them do it. You threw them a line, didn't you? You threw them the connection. Yeah. But you're thinking that it's you. No, that's your personal self. No, this helps everybody by the very fact that, see, he has the courage. He just didn't know what to do, but you came along. You were the right one. The boys prompted you to make the connection to him so he could make the connection, and he blew the roof off. See, it's going to blow the roof off. That's an old saying. Yeah, great. That's a great experience, Jeremy. Thank you so much.
Yes, and I'm excited to see who this individual is. You know, however it shows, excuse me, however it shows up. And again, because they were on my left hand side, I knew that was with the kind of literal idea, you know, the left hand side.
Someone you know, someone you know. When it's on the left side, see, it's already someone you know. It's just that the personal self doesn't know it, and in the experience too, the boys may not want to let it be known. So it just depends, but you already know it. Go ahead.
And I wanted to just sort of emphasize where they're from. Again, the Scandinavian region, either Ukraine, Sweden, sort of that area. There's a name for those countries, I think is Scandinavian, but yeah, that's the idea. So thank you everybody for listening.
Yeah, what you see there. So again, those are the ones that are willing to step up, and that has an effect, etc. So yeah, but it's a step at a time. It's a lot of big steps. Even when that experience is happening, you know, it's just like watching a movie or an instructional video. You know, you can watch an instructional video on yoga. It's like, oh, I want to do yoga, so I'll watch the video. But are you going to take the time to do the yoga? See, that's the difference. It's not just that you watch the video. So again, this is the show. This is the presentation. This is what's possible. But let's see what happens and who will bravely step up and realistically do it. But they're showing you the possibility. You see what I'm saying?